presentation is entitled, Can Smart Cities Respond to Community and Tourist Needs for Studies of Business Models in Portugal? Authors' names are Helena Almeida and Fátima Lampreia Carvalho from Portugal. The growing and fast urbanization transformation has created new needs that have been answered by smart cities projects. Digital technology works as a catalyst for urban transformation, promising more efficient, livable, and smart cities that improve quality of life and well-being and for both citizens and visitors. However, new technology itself does not guarantee company success. Business models innovation, on the other hand, can realize the commercial potential of a technological innovation and can lead to urban transformation. The general principle is based on representing connections between different actors and activities to create and capture value for every stakeholders according to their relevance to the smart city market. And open data and participatory service design are two illustrative examples that of business models that play significant roles in improving a city's civic engagement. However, it is not known whether the current context of the COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis of the Ukraine war cannot be an obstacle to investment in this kind of in this type of strategies. So this study tries to show the current investments in smart cities projects in the context of ongoing crisis and try to apply a business model matrix that can distinguish smart cities projects according to their relevance to the smart city market. And try to understand if smart cities can bring a lasting solution to the resolution of global crises with an impact on Portugal. To search for smart cities models, Web of Science was used with bibliometric analysis, with BiblioShiny and our software to better visualize the data process. And the research period from 2018-2022 tried to cover the period before and the period of crisis. A categorization of 4 Portuguese case studies according to a business model matrix and interviews with business models experts were made with these 2 questions. The first one, can smart cities bring a lasting solution to the resolution of global crises with an impact on Portugal? Number 2, will open data movement and participatory service design encourage support for the basic needs and well-being of citizens and critical moments such as pandemics and international armed conflicts? After applied the filters, these articles, keywords and keywords plus were indexed, referring to smart cities models in all countries, including Portugal. To map the conceptual structure, two approaches were adopted. The first one, the thematic evolution by authors' keywords, and number two, factorial map based on authors' keywords through multiple correspondence analysis. And as you can see in the figure number one, in 2018-2019, the theme participatory design, collaborative design, sustainable development, and ethics prevailed. In 2020, participatory design and collaborative design are even more relevant, allied to participatory research. And in 2021, the participatory design concept re-emerged related to co-design and technology. In 2022, we have design. The health concept is also evident. In the beginning called mental health, then e-health, and finally with the mobile health. As you can see in the figure number two, we have two dimensions. One associated or related with intelligent health, and the second one associated with participatory research, technology, and participation. Brock et al. Created business model matrix with these four distinctive types of business models, very relevant to the smart city market. These are Tetris, Marbles, Jenga, and jigsaw puzzle business models. And we analyzed and compared four business models case in Portugal, the AGDA City Lab, Smart Open Lisbon Sun, the Plan IT Valley, and Ever Innov City. You can access to these smart cities projects through these links here. And the idea, the general idea is the more value created, the more negotiation and power and value is captured. As you can see, Smart Open Lisbon Sun is a jigsaw puzzle business, and it is characterized by a platform for cooperation between agents associated, operating according quadruple helix model, and adopting a multi-vertical approach, bringing together innovative companies, Sun associated partners, top stars from around the world, to contribute to Sun Housing, Sun Mobility, Sun Tomorrow, and Sun Green Capital. Interviews confirmed that the jigsaw puzzle business model is reflected by the multi-vertical approach, and is in this case illustrated by the Smart Open Lisbon Sun. Interviews confirmed that smart cities are the most efficient response to overcome critical periods, because they strengthen government's ability to respond in moments of rupture using risk mitigation strategies, they can benefit from an ecosystem where actors and mechanisms are able to produce swift responses, triggering recovery in a more efficient way. And they support great participation and predisposition to contribute for the common well-being and problem resolution. So smart cities continue to be able to respond to the emerging events. Participatory design plays a relevant role to support smart cities' continuous innovation. Smart health emerged as a distinctive dimension in the critical context of COVID-19 pandemics and war. This study was able to replicate the model by Brock et al. In Portuguese smart cities studies. However, conclusions must be interpreted with caution. That's why we recommend additional proof of the model, including a wider variety of case studies. Thanks too much. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Presentations. I'll call upon the second presenter who had a request to go for a conference. I believe he can take it up.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Danny Cheda.
Yes,
thank you for agreeing for change. Thank you, Nick. And okay, let me share my screen, please. So it is all right. Okay, that's better. All right. So thank you very much for giving me a chance to present at this conference. So my paper is about student research or research environment for geospatial analysis. The main issue that we have usually is the problem that students got lost and waste a lot of time on preparatory things. And as we know, also the beginning is very hard, and then they take them enormous amount of time to prepare themselves. So they need some help in order to quickly achieve the result of the analysis. So my method that I am using is this, providing them some pre-defined modules that can use in any combination. So that shows here architecture of a system. At the first glance, I want to show that there are many modules here. So our research, I sort of classify research activities in many steps in this geospatial area. And by defining those steps, I can clearly ask students to do tasks. So actually, the research is reduced, if I could say, to some simpler tasks. Some of them can be, of course, very challenging. I can make any combination of things, but finally, what I'm saying that I define the research based on picking up some of the elements or modules from this diagram. So let me get into the specific. So one of the typical geospatial schema data that we are using is the data that using either point analysis. In this paper, I am showing that using the second data structure that describe the fragments for the geospatial data is much better, or generally it's alternative for the point data. Points include the information about the user or the object actually on a map, and information like longitude, latitude, and time. Those are basic elements for the typical basic schema that is provided in example later on. What we've done is that we said, okay, we can either ask students to do it as some a research preparation task, or just give them the new schema and new data that include the longitude and latitude and time difference and various derived attributes, like, for example, speed, that immediately brings exposes data, that exposes the dynamics of the data, like a speed, so they can make this analysis much quicker. So let me skip some details about those attributes. Let me get to the data, sample data. We can use variety of data. One of the data that we spent more time was the data, geolife data, so-called. This is the data set collected by Microsoft Research Asia within the geolife project. So this is the data set that each user or geospatial object is represented. I mean, let me have it user, because user can have many points on the map. So actually user can have many objects. The object is the occurrence of the specific user. And in addition to that, is complicated, as in real life, are multiple files. By the way, those multiple files, they immediately cause the delay in a student research. So that's one of the interesting aspects, how to combine multiple files to the single files to give it to students or ask them explicitly to do it. Otherwise, they would perform those tasks very slowly and would not be successful at the end. They would not do on a timely version. So data was recorded using different GPS devices, and there were sampling, various sampling rates in Beijing, China. And this presentation and analysis in this paper was based on a subset of data for 6 users. Again, we can use different data. Our modules allow to use different data sets. We can, and also the different number of users, different number of objects. The whole point is we have some moving points, and the framework allows us to analyze. So various analysis can be done almost immediately using standard visualization techniques, like the pie chart. Typically, we can use already in a standard specification for analysis of a user. And student immediately sees the important aspect, like, for example, that some users got a lot of data and some not much. So we know that there are some rules for the data or big data processing, where we have to take into consideration the distribution of data, and especially the amount of data set for different users. So we clearly have some indications, some heuristics for a process. So in this case, just to give you some hint about students' activities, so using the whisker chart for students, we see that we have we see that we have a lot of data again for user 037. That was visible before. It is shown again, and almost no data or it seems that almost no data for 120, but it might be plenty of data from a point of view of need of analysis of those 120. So what we can see is that we have to use, and that the students have indicators and some heuristic again to use different techniques to be able to expose this user 121. So this is what we can refer as a zooming or data zooming, and here we can do it quickly, and then there are various techniques for zooming depending on a different visualization tools. There's a non-map still visualization tools, and one of the clearly obvious tools, you can see it, that just limit the users to that would have the smaller than average data sets. Let's get to more interesting stuff. So, I mean, it's still interesting because basic analysis required by various applications is non-map analysis. But a heat map or the visualization and map is, of course, the most interesting for students. They want to get to that as soon as possible. And in order to do it properly, they again need to provide previously proper data selection. And this is example of a heat map that was for the some selected users that shows that either one user, many shows the occurrences of this person. It seems that this person, this user, travels to Beijing from a distance and travels pretty often. The heat, the red color shows that many occurrences for those fragments. So those are showing that it gives a pretty good indication about the dynamics of a movement. We can have, of course, variety of different type of zooming. Typical map zooming, that is also very convenient to see the either different users or one user's showing a different place. So those are the nice thing that we can see pretty clearly if after proper data selection and use all techniques. The whole issue is that we want to have the data matching the visualization tools. And we establish this relationship explicitly, and we learn about those relationships. So it's not only we are asking students to do the research, we are also asking to create the basis for the knowledge about the visualization. So we can combine together visualization with self-discovery, and that improve dramatically the, I would say, first of all, happiness of students. Second, the less burden of professors who can concentrate on a more important aspect of the research, like checking with students the different hypotheses and verifying those hypotheses using the map. So we can get to the real research much quicker. Okay, so what is the problem? What are the conclusions? So those are already I described the conclusion. Everything looks good. However, also in our process of matching with the tools, we knew it, but the third, what happens is that for some applications, the specific visualization like end path for the specific user or for specific object, it's convenient. And then in order to do it, unfortunately, fortunately, I would say, because we have a little bit more effort, we need this third data schema, so third data representation. That is, again, the first is we review again the main issue. First is point data with timestamps. Second is fragment. And now we are saying we need the third representation. This is typical for geospatial analysis, namely the sequence of points in one record, because that representation corresponds to the application of a drawing and map. So what we are saying here is, just as a small conclusion, and what we discovered by students say, okay, we would really like, and we together discovered that once they create the third schema, some application much easier. So my conclusion is that data structure, data representation needs to be provided or we to be discovered in a convenient way, and we have to have a relationship between visualization tools and data representation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Nick. I am from University of Cyberjaya, and I'm also a practicing medical doctor. So this is my research, clinical markers of cardiovascular diseases among end-stage renal disease patients on hemodialysis. So the background of this research started with a patient that I see in my practice. He came with a chest pain and and he said he had no medical conditions except for being a dialysis person. He never had any heart disease. So he was having this chest pain for about a month without seeking medical treatment and was only taking medication from a friend. And we did an electrocardiogram, ECG, which showed a very fast and erratic heart rhythm called atrial fibrillation. He was referred to a tertiary center, but unfortunately he passed away just 4 days after. So this got me thinking, could his death be prevented if the heart issues tackled early on? And are these dialysis patients having heart screening done as a routine screening in their centers? So about end-stage renal disease, it is a final stage of kidney failure where the kidney cease to function. So they need replacement therapy in the form of transplant or dialysis. So transplant is a bit difficult because they need to find a suitable donor, so they go with dialysis. So dialysis has 2 methods, peritoneal dialysis and hemodialysis, basically the water dialysis and blood dialysis. And for the focus of this research, we are going to focus on hemodialysis as the preferred method. So the prevalence of end-stage renal disease is increasing year after year according to the latest CDC in US. As of 2018 in the USA, 160,000 people are initiated with a renal replacement therapy, meaning that 2 out of 1,000 US people are diagnosed with a kidney failure. So this pie chart is adapted from the United States Renal Data Service, showing the all-cause death among hemodialysis population. So we can see from the right upper part of the pie chart, the largest cause of death is actually cardiac arrhythmia, the irregular heart rhythm, as mentioned earlier in the case before the presentation. So that is already almost about 40% of the cause of death, and the total of all causes of death related to heart and vessel is actually more 55%. So in Malaysia, the situation does not differ. In the span of a decade and a half, from 2002 to 2016, we can see a double increase in the person having kidney issues. So from 96 per million population in 2002, they are increased to 216 per million population as of 2016. So in 2016, there are 38,000 patients recorded to have renal replacement therapy, and hemodialysis is the preferred method of renal replacement therapy in this population. So as a projection from the National Action Plan of Healthy Kidney in Malaysia from 2018 to 2025, they predicted that in year 2020, there will be 51,000 patients having needing dialysis. Then this number will double by 2040. The reason I took the 2020 projection because this master research has been conducted since 2019. So the problem statement here is that with the numbers of renal failure patients on hemodialysis in Malaysia are increasing, so this means that the risk of them developing cardiovascular risk of death is also increasing. So based on that patient earlier, he was not screened for heart disease before coming to my practice. So I conducted a pilot study in 2020 during the height of COVID-19. This is in the form of an online survey sent to 300 dialysis centers all over Malaysia. And so this garnered about 166 respondents. So 86% of them are aware that cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death among this population, and majority agreed that early cardiac screening in the form of ECG is beneficial for the patients. However, only half of them reported that ECG is being carried out as a screening in their dialysis centers. So the problem issues being, despite the awareness of cardiovascular disease being the major cause of death is high, a routine screening is not actually being done in these centers. So my question for this research, can the current routine investigations now being done in these centers be effective in predicting cardiovascular disease? What is the relationship, and are they adequate in determining the cardiovascular risk, or if there's any additional screening needed? So the biomarkers that have been selected are in the form of blood tests, and the 6 biomarkers investigated are of hemoglobin, albumin, alkaline phosphatase, calcium, phosphate, and intact parathyroid hormone. These are being taken as a routine because in dialysis population, they also have anemia, mineral bone disease, malnutrition. tissues. So these are the routine biomarkers are taken, and from various literatures, from various literature all over this conducted for this study, we can see that from these 6 biomarkers eventually do lead to cardiac complications among the interstitial disease patients. For example, hemoglobin. This population has low hemoglobin, which leads to anemia, which eventually causes low oxygen supply to the heart and leading to heart ischemia as one of the cardiovascular complications. And also albumin. There's that protein catabolism created by hemodialysis procedure itself, leading to hypoalbuminemia. And this leads to inflammatory reaction that leads to cardiovascular complications. And as for the other parameters like calcium, phosphate, intact parathyroid hormone, and ALP, their dysregulation and disbalance eventually leads to vascular calcification. That means that the hardening of the vessels eventually leads to cardiac complication as well. So the study population for this study itself is actually patients from 9 dialysis centers all over Malaysia. They are divided into case and control. The case subjects are those with cardiac events, death, and hospitalization for the year 2020. There are 46 of them eventually being taken from this data. And as for the control, there are 81 of them. They have no cardiac events. They have no hospitalization record throughout 2020. They attended hemodialysis sessions in their centers without fail, and they are still alive by the end of 2020. So these patients are taken as a control subjects. So the methodology is using case control method and observational framework, and the data source being the monthly reports and blood tests sent in by these centers to me. I couldn't really go to the center because of the COVID-19 and the movement control order. So as the steps taken from these monthly reports and blood tests, I extracted those patient records who have experienced cardiac mortality and hospitalization throughout 2020. And their biomarkers, the 6 biomarkers mentioned earlier, for 1 year preceding the event are taken and analyzed. They have to have at least 4 unmissed blood takings, 4 results, in order for them to be qualified as a case subjects. And their means for all the biomarkers are calculated. So all of these are matched for the control subject as well, and their data is keyed into the SPSS system. So the hypothesis for this research, the null hypothesis being that these 2 variables, the cardiac events and biomarkers, do not have significant association, while the alternative hypothesis is that the events and biomarkers do have significant association. So the results in summary after running the SPSS using the one-way ANOVA study and multiple regression study, from the 6 biomarkers investigated, only albumin shows significant differences between the case and control, and also the significance is calculated to be less than 0.05, which is taken as totally significant. So as you can see, the red part here is actually the one with the abnormal mean results compared to the normal result described here, while the green is the normal result as compared to the normal values. So from most parameters, hemoglobin, both of them are actually abnormal, so they're not really significant in predicting cardiovascular disease. These are similar to parathyroid hormone and phosphate, whereas the ALP and calcium, both of cases and control do have actually normal readings, so they are not really significant as well to determine suspicion of cardiovascular disease in this population. So all we have is albumin proving that the cases group have abnormal results, and the control group basically have normal results. So to double check this method, I also run a multiple regression analysis, and it shows that albumin is significant in their relation to cardiovascular complications. And to investigate the relations of albumin with the other 5 investigated biomarkers, they have no significant relation with each other. So albumin is definitely good in order to determine cardiovascular complications. So as a discussion, the null hypothesis is rejected. Albumin does show significant relation with the presence of cardiovascular disease. However, albumin alone may not be adequate. So this brings to my suggestion for this research to add ECG as a standard marker to detect cardiovascular complication. The reason ECG is conducted because it is cheap, safe, and easy to conduct. It detects most cardiac complications and disease such as heart attacks, heart failure, irregular rhythm using the electrical heart activity pattern. And with the latest technology, it can also be remotely interpreted by specialists and also auto-diagnosed using AI and machine learning. So this negated the need for any doctor to actually come to the centers to do the reporting. It can be done online. So to prove that ECG is actually quite useful, I have some case study with me. The first being a patient in the control group. She's a female patient, 61 to 70 years old age group with no cardiac complications recorded. So she's basically asymptomatic, but her ECG shows an atrial fibrillation, a stable one. So we caught it early and we referred her appropriately to see a specialist before it becomes worse. For the second case study, this was the patient that I mentioned in the beginning of this research presentation. Basically, a male patient within the 51 to 60 years age group and has been on dialysis for less than 10 years. So without any cardiovascular record, he presented with a chest pain for a month, and we noted that this is a malignant atrial fibrillation with a heart rate of almost 150 beats per minute. This necessitated a referral to the tertiary center for him to see a cardiologist and probably to undergo certain procedures to slow down his heart rate. Unfortunately, he passed away before anything was able to be done. And finally, for the third case study, basically a 61 to 70 years old female patient in the control group has been dialyzing for almost 20 years. She has no cardiac records, she has fairly good blood result control, and she's asymptomatic, and she has a normal ECG. So the conclusion for this is that the biomarkers have been shown to be less sensitive, but hypoalbumin as a predictor of cardiac complications in end-stage renal disease patient can be further studied to see how we can enhance their significance. And an ECG has a potential as a cardiac event marker. They should be added as a routine screening so that it will be performed more diligently among the staff and patients. That concludes my...
Go ahead with the next presenter. So I would like to call upon. Would you like to present, Hussein?
Is going to be the modeling of parallel rotation from a disseminated lead and zinc or using central composite design method. And my co-authors on this present subject is Dr. Aksoy and Dr. Koja. Here it is the outline of my presentation. Then first I will introduce to our work. Lead and zinc metals are utilized widely in electrical and mechanical, military, metallurgical, chemical, optical, and medical sciences. Sulfide ores are the main resources for lead and zinc minerals. Frog flotation is the main beneficiation method to achieve lead and zinc sulfide mineral separation. There are two basic approaches, actually. Sorry about that. To obtain lead and zinc separation by flotation. First, to float lead sulfide, and second, to float bulk flotation, then separate each other. The Balya lead and zinc mines are situated. We took actually samples from Balya lead and zinc mines are situated in the western part of Turkey. These mines are very possibly that have been worked since ancient times. They are situated near Troy. The oldest lead pieces found in Troy are thought to be originated from Balya lead and zinc mines, actually. Here is Troy, and Balya lead and zinc mines are here. Regular operations in Balya with the application of scientific and modern mining methods were started about 1880s. Currently, 2,400 tons of ore is processed at the mineral processing plant by frog flotation, daily producing 366 tons of lead and zinc concentrate. Here it is the view of the mining site. Here is the mines, plant, and the other sites. In this study, flotation studies were carried out to obtain a lead-rich concentrate. In flotation, there are many variables that affect flotation performance. Among these, the collector type and amount, floater type and amount, particle size, pH, flotation type were kept constant, while the solids ratio and the depressant amount were optimized. The solid ratio and depressant amount and their interactions, with, which are called independent variables, have been described with mathematical model by using central composite design method. pH grade and PB grade and recovery were the response and variables. In the concentration plant, ore is comminuted in the crushing and grinding section in Balya, minus 200 millimeters before feeding to flotation sets. Studied samples were taken from the exit of the ball mill at the end of the grinding circuit. The predominant minerals of ore, galena, sphalerite, and chalcopyrite, the main dense minerals, quartz, calcite, pyrite, and gypsum. The sample include less than 1% lead and about 0.5% zinc, over 11% iron. The materials used in these experiments are collector ethyl xanthate, frotyl methyl zoltyl carbonyl, and other chemicals are given here. Flotation experiments were carried out by using laboratory type Denver flotation machine with a volume of 1.5 liters at the mineral processing laboratory. Okay. The float fraction, which include galanite particles, are called as concentrate, and slurry left in the cell, which includes other minerals, are referred to tailings. The experimental conditions, the constant parameters are given here, and solid ratio, additional dispersal amount are varied, and the solid ratio are varied from 10 to 40%. Additional dispersal amount was varied from 0 to 100 grams per ton. Here are the independent variables and their levels, solid ratio and depressant amount. Statistical design of experiment were performed by using design expert version 11. According to design planned by software, 13 experiments were carried out randomly. Following table shows the design metrics with coded values and the results of lead contents and lead recovery of concentrates. Here it is the design metrics and the results. PB grade increased from less than 1% to 47% at 70 experiments, and lead recovery is nearly 80%. Significant increase in lead content was observed with a remarkable lead recovery. Variance analysis for both response variables were performed, and regression models were created in 95% confidence level by software. Here it is a variance analysis for PB content. This model is statistically significant as its p-value less than 0.05. The most effective parameter for the PB lead content is depressant dosage, B. It is p-value is less than 0.05%. Both linear and quadratic effects of depressant dosage are found to be significant as p-values are less than 0.05 for both B and B squared. Here is the relationship between actual and predicted lead contents. The predicted lead contents values represent over 96% of actual values. As a result of this variance analysis, the regression model for PB content is given in following equation. Here is the ANOVA table for lead recovery. This model is also statistically significant as its p-value is less than 0.05, and both linear and quadratic effects of solid ratio and depressant dosage, A and B, are found to be significant. SP values are less than 0.05. Here are the relationship between actual and predicted net recovery. The predicted net recovery values represent nearly 95% of the actual values. As a result of this variance analysis, the regression model for net recovery is given in the following equation. Here are the conclusions. The experimental results revealed that lead content of concentrate was obtained as 47% with 79% lead recovery under the conditions of solid ratio 25% and depressant dosage of 75 gram per ton. Solid ratio and depressant dosage that thought to be effective parameters on the lead grade and lead recovery and their interactions are described in a mathematical model by using central composite design method. The variance analysis has shown that both models obtained for lead grade and lead recovery were statistically significant. The effect of depressant dosage is higher than that of solid ratio. The high values of regression coefficients indicate that the models developed for two response variables represent predicted values over 95% of actual values. The high values of predicted regression coefficients indicate that the model developed for two response variables are very powerful. Here it is my presentation, end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your patience.
Mahtab, yeah, you can go ahead.
My research is an application, the application of a cancer robot. And we do this because in the medical field, other than the patient and the communication between patient and the, sorry, can you see my PowerPoint slide?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm a little bit blocked here because, sorry, I want to enlarge the screen a little bit. Okay, so in the medical field, we have the certain part about the communication between patient and the doctor and the other medical care staff. So currently, because the information technology is very popular, a lot of people using their smartphone to do a lot of personal communication. So we believe that medical communication between patient, cancer patient especially, and the medical people are very important. It kind of provided mental support and also as well as like instruction of how to use the correct medication. So we came out with the idea of developing the cancer chatbot by using the Line, one of the very popular instant messenger in Asia, including where I'm from, Taiwan. So this research is actually want to develop the application, especially for cancer patient. And we also aim to like sort of like develop the application to really be fully be able to use. But this application through the research that we are doing is in like the coding process stage, but I'm going to talk about how we do it step by step. So as I have mentioned that the background that was actually because the number of proportion of young adult in during the period that they have using certain kind of cell phone habit, and the use of cell phone or a lot of communication is actually increasing. You can see from the chart is increasing over time. And we do believe that Taiwan is going through the process that we have in the aging society. That means that very low birth rate and the higher senior rate. So as a matter of fact that the society, the demographic structure is changing, we feel like it is important that not only let the smartphone use go into just the personal communication for pleasure, fun, entertainment, but it's also important to increase the citizens' health by having the smartphone application available for them. So that initially is the idea that we want to having the development of the chatbot. And the chatbot has many functionality. In the social network, the use of chatbot is increasing over time. From the chart, that you can see that active user from the social network is increasing over a year. Chatbot is also increasing. You see the yellow line for the index that we have. It's actually go much higher than the regular social network user. And market also have like a high potential in terms of like increasing the use and market value of the application. So the question here that we have is about like how it's extensive the chatbot is being currently used in the Taiwan medical industry, and people limited for being used the application. So therefore, the functionality is not enough for clinical care. So also some application development is subject to the government policy. We have the government associations, Ministry of Health and Welfare. They kind of sort of like increasingly encouraging the personal use of a patient using the IT application. So in particular, in the situation of COVID-19 pandemic, some of the application of telemedicine was actually in use. So chatbot in the process that we don't have to really have face-to-face interaction with the patient as a, when the medical professionals are performing the clinical care. So that's an advantage. Also, as we know, the cell phone use can be 24 hours, 7 days a week. That extend the service time and duration when the patient needs to be cared. So from the academic perspective, we also run several literature review, how other country specialists, they are running the cancer treatment by using the chatbot, having those instant messenger application. So we also feel like through the study that we done, we also found that actually the use of chatbot is actually significantly improve the patient survival. And also that is really positive to let us move forward. So we, in the process of developing the application, we really think about there are some issue we need to deal with, and our motivation start with like the ratio of cancer treatment of sick is increasing every year, as we know that the cancer patient number of cancer patients is actually increasing, and the quality of care are declining for many of the reasons. Some of the reasons result that the medical bill is very expensive, and some of the issue regarding to the lack of the staffs. We don't have, as the number of patients increasing, the medical people ratio is decreasing, over time based on the ratio. And also sometimes we unable, as being a medical professional, you're unable to track the patient symptom, intensively, because that requires a lot of office visit or a lot of follow-ups. And we are hoping that information technology can fill out the gap for being able to take care of the patient better, to provide more medical support, medical information, and mental supports or problem solving. And so also the issue where like medical information, disease information is kind of like sometimes not record very in detail. And also there are some minor symptoms, in a process that we aren't able to track. Being a medical professional, not trace every detail of the information. It takes time and is very laborious and time consuming. So we developed several research processes along with how we developed the cancer chatbot. First, we kind of like do some medical information literature review. And also we document, we get, because this project actually correspond with a local region hospital in Chiayi, Taiwan. It's in the south of Taiwan. And so we did get some medical and patient records in correspond with our development. And we also come up with a research method that develop our cancer chatbot by using one of the system developed technique called waterfall model. And we, in the process of develop this, we have a 12 clinic caregiver and the 2 patients, and sort of help us do the in-depth review in the process to benefit of our system development. And our research process is that first we do the need requirement analysis. This is the waterfall model that I had mentioned earlier. First, we did a requirement analysis and definition. And based on the need analysis, we start the system analysis and we do the system design. And after we have those functionality available, we started to do the hands-on functional testing with those patients I mentioned a while ago, 12 clinical professional and 2 patients. And then we do a little bit more in-depth integration of our application, and then we do the system testing. So last stage will be operation and maintenance. So currently this application is under the operation and maintenance because we get some government, the hospital grant for this cancer bot development especially. So back to the issue I talking about, when we do the need analysis, which is the most important part, identify the need of the patient. We saw the design and the interview the patient, and then we prepare the interview and schedule interview time and places to talk with them, and then after conduct actual interview documentary, we perform the transcript analysis using the software. And then based on the information get, we do the data aggregation and analysis. So we decided which functionality are most essential for the patient. And after we have the system, we kind of just using the visa framework to further understand that did the cancer bot, the chatbot really deliver value for the patient and the health clinic professional care. So we start with the discussion of value proposition and do the evaluation of our interface as well. And service platform was actually was using the line application as a conjunction of service provide to the cancer patient. And we also run the organization model to test the possibility of being further used. And revenue model is not quite applied here in this point because we are currently doing this cancer patient chatbot for free. But I think in the future, when the system is really complete developed software application, then go through this markup and prototyping stage, we will make it commercialized. And then the possible revenue model probably will be more advertisement or in-app purchase, depending on the circumstances where at that point how much we want to go further for the application for this app. So we also do the system function analysis for both patient side demand and medical side demand. Medical side demand means the doctor and the staff and the care providers. So in the process of developing the cancer chatbot, we have the personal data available for them. We also have some kind of event query and reminder, especially when a patient, what time they need to take the test, or what time they need to go to clinical office visit, and the medicine that they have to take. Also, adverse reaction, the weight tracking, especially for cancer patients, they might have some weight loss issue in the process of treatment. And also the ESDM associated with that instant notification of some event that appear to available for the cancer patient at that time. Also, health education information that's very important, because you know that actually there's a lot of information that is incorrect over the social network. And we believe that those kind of incorrect information will have to impact the use of correct information for our patient to be able to, to be cared correctly. Yeah. So that information, I think through the medical personnel staff, it will be more effective in terms of provide the correct information. Given the social media provide a lot of incorrect information, and that which is probably the major media that a lot of citizens currently that using for information, they attempt the information from the different source, and social media probably one of the most being used source of information. So through the CancerBot chatbot, we also want to provide information through the process that could correct our patient, that they have more information available for them. Also, in certain cases that patient may need to contact the medical professional, they can also use this chatbot, having access to the medical people if it is necessary. Medication reminder is also a cancer side demand, patient side demand, which we will accommodate in the process. And after doing this research framework, then we come up with certain result. We found that through the initial test, the cancer chatbot, most of the respondents, they actually have experience using other chatbot already. So we want to identify whether our chatbot has some functionality or being very useful other than something they have already used. So we also figure out that most of people actually have their not very positive with their chatbot use experience, and also some complication perhaps not being answered or resolved. But the advantage of being more interactive is also the very positive side of the chatbot. And the through the value proposition and proposition analysis, we also feel like there are issues that an effective CancerBot can resolve, is including the saving time and real time information, and you can correct, you get the information correct, and that would bring a positive value. Those are the things that the cancer chatbot can bring a positive value. So we feel like empirically it can be implemented in the future. So I'm going to talk about these few things that we're using the visa framework. Some of the cancer patients, they might a little bit age, not that young, so they will be an obstacle for like people who in certain age group. So we also have a concern with such a interface, whether it can be effectively being used by those patients. And a majority of respondents that we have also suggest that there should be some improvement for our CancerBot, be able to change the way, for instance, the layout. Okay. Also, other thing that we found that our respondent, among those 12 professional and 2 patients, they recommended, they are willing to recommend our markup and this prototype to other patient or colleague, because they think that in the future, if they are familiar with the application used, and the symptom and report can be reported to the medical site more easy. So we use the waterfall model to develop the architecture, and also that have been widely used. And also the visa framework is not that much being used. So I believe that that's our theoretical contribution, because most of the system application is being at a level of being user testing by using some cognitive walkthrough, for instance. And the cognitive walkthrough don't have the holistic view in terms of the revenue model or interface. Many about interface by itself, but doesn't have something else like organization or revenue model evaluation process. So that's where that we do for other, compared to other related research. Also, practical contribution for this markup development is that we care both medical side and patient side, not from only the system perspective. You know, some of the system analysis mainly from the architecture, you know, but we do go to interview those people and understand their concern. Okay, that's pretty much about my presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, and very nice model with respect to cancer boards and all. So just wanted to know what is your database source, how many data you have collected with respect to interaction with this board's implementation perspective.
Oh, as I mentioned that in earlier slide that we have 12 professionals, 2 patients. Yeah, because we are unable to get. Let me see where I have that slide. Yeah, in the process number 4 here, we did do the interview and both with the 12 clinical caregivers and also 2 patients. It's difficult to get a patient because you know, most of the patient, they don't want to disclose the information that they had a medical issue. You know, that's very large percentage.
But luckily, are quite less data set basically when you do any analysis. So that was the only concern which I had. And anyhow, we have Dr. Nick here, who is from medical background. He can help you out for more patients and connectivity and make it as a inter-country research also, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask as well. I think this is a very interesting research. When you mention a chatbot means that the response will be automated after anyone key in any inquiry, or will there be a specific team who is answering them in real life time? Can I just know more about that?
I believe that we have both, but because the system is actually in the developing stage, you know, so what we can do at this point of time is probably pretty much like we have a database of the information, all the symptom and some problem solving is already in the database. So the patient will be able, you know, when they type in question, and the database will automatically pop out something correspond to their inquiry. And also under the interactive section, we might have some the medical staff there available for answer their question. If that question is really, say, a little bit urgent and the database cannot retrieve anything. Yeah. But the purpose of chatbot is to use the AI, you know, artificial intelligence, to replace the human. So in this case, we decrease the medical professionals' workload. Meanwhile, we provide more service to our patient.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for your research and wonderful. Would you like to present?
Okay, sir. Myself Maheshwari, and my research topic is nonlinear Fourier frequency division multiplexing analysis through simulation. Introduction. The nonlinear frequency division multiplexing is a signal multiplexing scheme which encodes the information in a nonlinear spectrum. The previously telecommunication system uses smoke signals and drums. In the advancement in telecommunication was unstoppable when telegraph was invented in first half of the 19th century. Then after the invention of the laser in 1916, permitted the arrival of light wave communication, which enables the available bandwidth and increases the performance of communication system. In 1970, the first optic fiber with sufficient low loss was developed. The fiber optic communication system uses optical fiber to transmit the information till 1980. Then optical amplifiers are invented which enables the longer distance without regenerating the signal. Next, wavelength division multiplexing and higher order modulation formats are allowed to further increase in bitrate distance product. Then why NFDM? The global data traffic is increasing exponentially and it become a challenging aspect in current generation of optic fiber communication system to meet the data rate demand. NFDM is used to address the future capacity needs of a optic fiber, which is a limiting factor in previous optic communication. The non-linearity of a optic fiber is believed to be main limiting factor when designed at a high signal powers. In this research primarily investigates the use of the fiber non-linearity in a constructive way rather than treating it as a problem. The loss in NFDM is addressed using path average method. In this method, true lossy optic fiber can be approximated by lossless optic fiber. The errors of path average approximation is depending on signal power, bandwidth, and duration. These errors degrades the performance of NFDM when designed at high data rates. Next, the NFDM is based on first one is nonlinear Fourier transform. The nonlinear Fourier transform is a method for solving integrable partial differential equation which control the wave propagation in certain nonlinear media. The conventional Fourier transform was originally developed in order to solve the heat equation, which is a standard example for linear evolution equation. The nonlinear Fourier transform are generalization of conventional Fourier transform that can be used to solve certain nonlinear evolution equation. The popular example for nonlinear evolution equation is nonlinear Schrodinger equation. Then NFT decomposes the signal into two spectrums. One is continuous spectrum and other one is discrete spectrum. The continuous spectrum consists of a continuous spectral function which represents the radiative components of the signal. The discrete spectrum consists of a set of isolated points called as eigenvalues, which represents the soliton components of the signal. Next is nonlinear Schrodinger equation. It is a nonlinear variation of Schrodinger equation that models the signal propagation in lossless fiber. The Schrodinger equation is a linear partial differential equation that controls the wave function of a quantum mechanical system. Then objective. The main objective of the research is to develop a simple and unified method for solving the for communication over optic fiber network and analyze through simulation. The parameters like spectral efficiency, error vector magnitude, and bit error ratio. The simulation were carried out with the open source software environment NFDM Lab, which uses FNFT, a software library to compute the NFT and INFT. The NFDM modulator and demodulator modules are utilizes the C software library in FNFT to compute inverse NFT, which is interfaced using Python wrapper. Then mathematical background. The propagation of a optical pulse Q of L comma T in a lossy fiber is given as dq by dou q by dou L plus I into beta 2 by L dou square q by dou T square minus I into gamma of mod of q square into q equal to minus alpha by 2 into q, where L represents the propagation distance and T is the time. The parameters B2 and gamma are the dispersion and nonlinear parameters respectively. Alpha is a loss term. The above equation is integrable and can be solved exactly by NFT by change of variable method and then transformed into a normalized form. Then we obtained a propagation of optical pulse Q of L comma T in a lossless fiber as dou Q by dou L plus I into beta 2 by L dou square Q by dou T square minus I into gamma of dou Q mod Q square into Q equal to 0. Then block diagram of NFDM. This is the figure shows the basic block diagram of NFDM. Then second one is basic block diagram of pre-compensated NFDM system, and third one is receiver. The signal duration will be same as the duration of pre-compensation signal at the transmitter. Firstly, at the transmitter, the transmitted signal was designed by multiplexing n overlapping sync-shape subcarrier in the nonlinear continuous spectrum. In NFDM transmission, data can be encoded onto parameters of nonlinear signal spectrum. Here in this experiment, it is the modulation on continuous spectrum. In NFDM system, the interplay between dispersion and nonlinearity is usually compensated at the receiver by cancelling the accumulated linear phase shift in the nonlinear Fourier domain. However, the continuous part of the nonlinear signal spectrum is dispersive, which means that the broadening occurs during the propagation. As a result, NFDM systems are designed in the burst mode, that is, with zero guard interval between the neighboring burst for preventing the interburst interference during the propagation. In this case, the length of the guard interval between the neighboring burst should be longer than the channel memory, which is given as TC is equal to 2 pi 2 pi into bandwidth into beta 2 into L. Here beta 2 is a non-linearity parameter. In fact, the required guard interval duration can be effectively reduced by a factor 2 in pre-compensated NFDM system as shown in figure B. Where half of the transmission induced phase shift of the nonlinear spectrum is pre-compensated at the transmitter and other half is post-compensated at the receiver. To increase the spectral efficiency of NFDM system, the bandwidth and distance are the fixed number of subcarriers and that should be increased. The work environment for simulation. We have used FNFT in fast nonlinear Fourier transform. Is a software library for numerical computation of nonlinear Fourier transform, which are also known as inverse or scattering transform. FNFT is written in C and come up with a MATLAB interference. A Python interference is also available. The procedure to build a software library under Windows. First is a simple way to build a FNFT is via Scoop package manage. Scoop is a command line installer for Windows. Then running the commands in PowerShell to install the Git, CMake and GCC and to build the directories and libraries. Results and discussion. The simulation were carried out with the open source software environment NFDM lab, which uses FNFT, a software library, to compute NFT and INFT. The NFDM demodulator utilizes the C software library FNFT to compute the INFT, which is interfaced using Python wrapper. We successfully built a working environment in Windows platform using the Anaconda distribution package. For a given constellation type, by increasing the number of subcarriers from 64 to 222, it is observed in the simulation environment that there is an obvious improvement in spectral efficiency and so in bit error ratio also. This observation holds good for the constellation type 16, 32, and 64. And the trend is with increase in constellation type, there is further improvement in spectral efficiency and so is in bit error ratio. These are the simulation results. The figure represents the 16 QAM constellation diagram for 222 number of modulated subcarrier, and it has highest spectral efficiency compared to 16 and 32 QAM constellation. And after the pre-compensation, the fiber input is approximately same as the fiber output, which can be shown in these two figures. This is the fiber input and this is the fiber output. And conclusion. The pre-compensation of channel against the induced phase shift at transmitter and received instead of post-compensation and increasing the number of modulated subcarriers are two important rules for designing the high data rate NFDM transmission system. By applying these rules and increasing the number of modulated nonlinear subcarrier up to 222, we achieved in simulation environment the record of high data rate, that is up to 200 Gbps and spectral efficiency about 6 bits per second per hertz in NFDM transmission over 976 kilometer of standard single mode fiber. That's all.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, Maheshwari.